A Fright to Remember. I was a short-timer, like I had only a few months left in the Navy. I'd been at the postgraduate school working in the photo lab for about 3 years. It was March 1968. I was out in June. My buddies and I decided to travel up to San Francisco one Sunday evening. Along for the ride were Mike Habari and Bill Withers, two sailors who lived in the barracks also. We left Monterey about 4 p.m. The drive up Highway 101 was uneventful. It was a beautiful sunny mild afternoon, and the black 58 Chevy purred down without a care on its way to the bay. Upon our arrival to the city, we drove down by the waterfront. I parked near Aquatic Park. We all exited the vehicle, making sure that all the doors were locked. It was a well-lighted area. We spent most of the evening at the Sea Witch Bar. As best I can remember, the bar was in Ghirardelli Square. There was live music, piano, and singing. It was a joint where the bartenders and waitresses would sing. None of us got wasted that night, but all had a good time. Around 11, we came out and walked up to where the car was parked, or I should say, where the car used to be parked. At first, Bill wasn't sure where I had parked. However, after a 2-block search, all were in agreement of the situation. My 58 black Chevy was stolen. After a 20-minute wait, a policeman showed up and took down the necessary information. I noticed that the officer marked down the license tag number on a piece of paper containing about 100 tag numbers. It was a "don't call us, we'll call you" routine. After that, we hitched a ride with the Sea Witch bartender to the bus station down on Market Street. As luck would have it, or as luck wouldn't have it, the next bus to Monterey left around 5 a.m. So the three of us had a little time on our hands. We spent the time constructively, trying to catch a few Z's on the hard benches, watching winos pissing in the street outside the window, and viewing an occasional over-the-hill hooker on the sidewalk. The announcement was made in the bus station, and we boarded the bus for Monterey. We all had to be back by 8 a.m. It was Monday morning. Mike and Bill sat near the back of the bus. I got the last remaining seat near the front by an Hispanic woman. The bus pulled off. I dozed off. Probably no more than 10 minutes elapsed when I felt a tapping on my arm. "Senor, senor, he's falling asleep." "No?" Startled, I woke up. The middle-aged lady beside me was pointing to the driver. The thin, gaunt lady to my right looked to be about 45. She possessed multifarious wrinkles on her face like so many of her contemporaries. She lived under the California sun and worked the limited opportunities of the California job scene for Browns. Perhaps she was only in her late 30s. I couldn't tell. Exploitation has a way of aging you prematurely. Half awake, I looked over at the driver. He definitely was dozing off. So there we were, moving down 101 with a semi-conscious driver. I glanced immediately to the sign above the rearview mirror. The sign said, "Do not talk to the driver while the bus is in motion." Just then, the bus veered off the road to the shoulder. The driver awoke and steered the bus back onto an acceptable vehicular lane. I looked at the lady seated to my right. Her thin, chiseled face was frozen in terror. The Rembrandt lighting of the rising sun seemed to give her a surreal appearance. In the ensuing 10 minutes or so, the driver went off the road about 2 more times. It was always the same. The swerving of the bus's frame seemed to wake him up. I was puzzled why she wanted me to do something. Did she feel inadequate? Did she think that I knew more words that could resolve the crisis? Was it because I was young or Anglo the driver would listen to me? My mind was racing. There was I, a sailor. I was told when to shit, when to get up, when to bathe, when to wear, and for the most part, where to be most of the time. Do not talk to the driver while the bus is in motion. Should I say something to the driver? Oh, yeah, like he was going to admit falling asleep and thank me for pointing it out. Like he'd fess up to his own inadequacies. In fact, it may have been a crime to speak to the bus driver while the bus was in motion. Plus, he might bitch to the bus station. They could put me off at San Ramon or San Jose. That would be great. How in the hell would I get back to Monterey by 8? And if we were late, the Navy, predictably, would be unsympathetic. Shit, they tried to court-martial Harry about 2 years ago for surviving a plane crash. That made him late on getting back. In their books, he was AWOL. It was a quandary. I came upon a tenuous plan. I moved myself to the edge of the seat. I was determined to jump up and steer the bus back to the lane if he fell asleep again and wandered off the road. It was a stupid plan, but it was a plan. I hoped that the driver would forgive the intrusion. I could use the maneuver as sort of a professional blackmail, like he might say a nasty word to me but not turn me in for saving his life and the life of those on the bus. Looking back, the plan was stupid. But there was I, a great lad, and 22 at that. I didn't want to die. I didn't want innocent people killed or injured. But I had had the hammer on me for almost 4 years. I didn't want to disobey an order. And everyone knows that the law and the Navy are bigger on format than on content. I checked the other occupants several times during our crisis. Most were asleep, some were reading, nearly all oblivious to the possible terror that lie ahead. Bill had awoken in the back of the bus after one of the errant treks of the bus. He started to sing, "Do You Know the Way to San Jose?" Mike would chime in on the falsetto part, "L.A. is a great big freeway." This simple tune seemed to add consciousness to our lethargic driver. As best I can remember, he only hit the shoulder one more time after the impromptu singing began. I heard of people singing for their supper, but never for their life. Thank God we had to stop in San Jose. The driver, seemingly conscious and fully awake, made his way through the obligatory narrow alley to the bus station unscathed. Only my laundry lady knew how scared I was on this short trip from San Francisco to San Jose. But all terrors must end sometime. We got a new driver in San Jose for our trip to the Monterey Peninsula. With an additional cab ride, we all made it back to the base by 8 a.m.